What's going on, guys? I wanted to hop on here real quick. I was gonna do like this mixed video thing, but I don't think that's gonna flow well, and it's gonna be hard to follow because I'll be bouncing back and forth, essentially between my feelings on a topic and working on this. So today's agenda is I'm gonna do a bunch of maintenance on this. May or may not film it, but we're doing oil change, transmission flush, rear diff service, and then filter. So. Then it's actually headed over to Maserati after I'm done with it today. And during the week next week, it is getting some electronic control module updates, a new suspension module, and tweaking some of the settings so that we can push this thing a little bit harder than we normally do. No, I'm not rich, never claimed to be, but I do enjoy cars and I'm going to use them for what they're intended for. That's not meant to sit in the garage. So we use it, but more on topic. This little guy is what started everything yesterday. So you can see we work on pretty much anything here. So you can see we work on everything here. It really doesn't even matter where it's made. Fiat, it's got a Maserati. Yes, it's mine, but we'd work on it if a customer rolled up. We have had customers in the past with Ferraris and stuff. We've got Toyota, parking lot full of, daily driver stuff. I myself have some experience with particularly the European brands, but lately I've been diving off and getting more involved with that side of things. I enjoy European cars. Some of them are engineering marvels. Some of them are wish you never would have. But they're fun. Everybody has their thing that they like. I've always been a hot rodder. You can tell by most of the content on my channel, it's old school American iron. But I like those too. My wife has an Abarth. This isn't hers. So with that being said, there's two main types of shops. You've got private sector and dealership, right? So a dealership, they service what they sell typically. On the used car sides of thing, in dealerships, it gets a little gray areaed because if they sold it, they have to take care of it morally, and in some states legally. So it gets the waters get real muddy on that side of things. In the private sector, it breaks down even further. You've got European shops, all makes and model shops, domestic shops, transmission shops. You've got all these different breakdowns in shops, and there are reasons for that. Some of these things don't lend themselves well to other processes. So transmission shops primarily stand alone because one, the work is dirty as all get out. The components can't get messed up or nasty. You can't have that work bleeding over and mixing into things. So know what kind of shop you're bringing your car to. That being said, I'm going to move right into what this little guy right here upset me over yesterday. So this car was brought to another shop locally, and I'll preface this by saying that the two guys that diagnosed this are former employees of this establishment, and that's probably why it bothered me more than it should have. But the problem bothers me regardless of that whole situation. And it boils down to, if you're going to be in this industry, as a person who works on these cars, not just these cars, I mean any cars. It could be Chevy pickups for all I care. It could be that. Any of those, any of these. If you're going to work in this industry, there's a certain amount of integrity and knowledge you have to have. Point blank, period. End of discussion. It's important on the integrity side and the knowledge side. And the knowledge isn't as much as people would think. What I expect from you and what a lot of shop owners expect from you, I know this shop owner expects, is if you don't know with 100% certainty, know how to get the answer. That is part of what failed here. So if you don't know how to find the answer, you're already a liability, because you're going to load up the parts can and start taking shots and hope you get a hit. That's not fair to the customer. It makes the shops look bad. When you make a shop look bad, you make every single person that works there look bad. And while this industry isn't about looks, a certain amount of capability is entrusted from people in the basically the stigma that follows your shop. If you're known for being fantastic at diagnostics and knocking stuff out of the park and your quality of work's good, word's going to travel, then that's what people are going to expect from you. If you're just known as the cheap shop that can get it done now, know that people do think less of those shops. It just is what happens, and they may not trust your diagnostics. So this car, if you don't know how Fiat's internal engine mechanics work, this may get a little confusing for you. This car showed up at that other shop. I'm not going to mention names or shops because that's not what this is about. But it showed up at another shop, not running. Had been sitting for a couple years. Customer came back, tried to jump start it, wouldn't start, brought it to him. They did their diagnostics and came to the conclusion that it needs an engine. Full stop, you need a whole engine. The problem with that is this car ran when parked legitimately. Lady's been out of town. We live in a place where that's not abnormal. So the car had been sitting for a couple years and wouldn't start. Fiats, in particular, these Fiats and the Spiders, same engine, they don't have camshafts for both intake and exhaust. One set of valves is opened and shut using oil pressure via electronically controlled solenoids. Bear with me. The reason for that is if you lose oil pressure while driving, the engine simply turns off. It's a safeguard. It keeps the engine in better condition so you can fix it, right? As soon as you lose oil pressure, engine shuts off, done. So a big first step in a lot of these cars when they don't run is you have to verify oil pressure. That was clearly never done. Number two, if you have a set of valves, it doesn't matter if it's intake or exhaust, and you go to do a compression test, if one set of those valves does not open, your readings will be completely incorrect. A lot of times, you'll see zero. It's not that nothing's moving, it's that no air is going into the cylinder, so there's nothing to compress, right? So you're essentially putting the same cylinder when the piston moves down under a vacuum, and then you're resetting it back to nothing. So these guys did a compression test, showed it as zero, immediately stopped, left the car tore apart, I might add, and said, you need an engine, that's going to be $7,000. Which, in all fairness, that's a cheap engine swap in 2026. So be prepared if you need one. So the lady, of course, that's a lot of money. She said she had like $5,500 saved up to fix the car. She wanted a second opinion. I don't know exactly what happened. Anyway, the car ended up over here. How it came about that I ended up looking at it is in this shop, I'm the European guy. I drive Italian, I own Italian, I like Italian. I don't have a hate for German, except Mercedes. We're not friends. But I'll fix them. Matter of fact, I got the bumper off one right there for one I'm fixing that I put in the backyard so that I can play with that. Anyway, I'll work on any of them. Even the British. We do a lot of Land Rovers and Jaguars here. So we're not scared of them, but here's where the integrity comes in. If you don't know 100% how to diagnose a car or the inner workings of a car, and you haven't done your due diligence to rule out every other possibility, you are part of the problem. What happens if this lady decides she can't fix it and she scraps a car that maybe she loves. You know, these are cute cars. People fall in love with these things. They're great commuters. This one's got the convertible top. It's got a bunch of cool add-ons. She throws that away and crushes it. You just made her purchase something that she didn't need to purchase, whether it be an engine or another car. So you're a bad person for that. Number two, if you haven't done everything or have the knowledge to make that call. So they got zero compression and clearly didn't do any further checks to make sure things like all the valves opening, are the pistons moving, is everything happening that should be happening. They just zero on the compression, you're done. There is more you have to check after that. You can run leak down tests, pull the valve cover, verify things are moving. There's a lot of things you still need to do that were not done. So anyway, car ends up over here. I hear the story. By the way, Justin, the owner here, came up to me and said, "Hey, I got a Fiat in the parking lot, needs a motor. How do you feel about that?" I said, I don't care. I'll put a motor in it. And luckily, we were just having conversation. It was slow. If we had been busy, admittedly, I probably would have been like, yeah, I don't care. It's fine. We do our own diag at the shop, regardless of where it came from. In this case, I heard where it came from, immediately assumed they got it wrong, and went out to check the car. So once I went out and checked the car, the battery was at 0%. And I looked at it, and then my service writer came up and told me the whole story. I said, nope, car's gonna run. Went out there with a jump box, checked it for oil, cranked on it, and in 15 seconds, car's running. I drove this thing yesterday. No misfires, no engine lights, no problems. The only problems this car has is from sitting for 2 years. Tires have flat spots. Some of the bushings underneath are drying out, things like that. Her money's better spent on tires, brakes, and maybe some control arm bushings. And she'll come in way under that $7,000 engine mark. And she'll still get a car that rides better and drives just as good as it did before, if not better. The problem with her thinking that it needs an engine, and they talk her into putting an engine in it. You put an engine in it, the car still has all those other problems I just mentioned. So it's still going to vibrate because of lumpy tires. It's still going to ride and handle like crap because of worn out bushings. But you got her for $7,000. Good job. That upsets me. So what I need people to understand is if you get into this business and you get into this industry, integrity and service to others is why you're here. If you don't realize that this is part of a service, this is the service industry, you're a service technician, you're in the wrong business. Full stop. If you're here to get rich, you're in the wrong business. Go away. We don't need you anymore. You guys have ruined what we try to do constantly by being greedy assholes. And now everyone's spring-loaded to think we're out to screw them when we're not. We keep a clean facility. That's an engine going in next week. And in this room in particular right now, there's only two of us. We each have 2 lifts through those windows right there. There's another side of the building with 2 more bays, and we got 2 out back under cover. So we've got good bays space. There's 3 of us, myself and Justin. We come from different worlds, but it complements each other with our different experiences. And then we've got Jacob, who's an up-and-comer. He's kicking ass. He's doing good. Dude's consistently right at 40 hours turned every week. If you're in the business, you know what that means and how hard that is to actually find. So we do what we can here. My worry with stuff like this is how many have fallen through the cracks. How many cars have been thrown away because of dishonest technicians, greedy technicians, and mean people in general. The other issue I have is the stigma that follows us. This is the one business where we're constantly under attack by people thinking we're going to screw them. It's expensive keeping these things running. I get it. So This goes back to another topic that I had talked about in another video where I'd asked you guys what you didn't like about shops or problems you had. And man, this one just boiled my blood. So it really does bug the crap out of me when people in this industry fail people that are trying to use the industry to just simply get back on the road. And we screw that up. I say we because that person who did this, we got lucky and we saved one, right? She's got a bad taste now for that other shop, but what if we had let it slip through the cracks and it got an engine put in it and it still rode like crap? Now she's mad at a bunch of shops, right? So do better. If you're in this industry, do better, be better, act better, and just do the right thing. I don't know what else to say. It really pissed me off yesterday, and I didn't want to make this video yesterday because I was pretty upset, and I would have probably dropped names and shop names, and it's not what we're here to do. That's the only one you got to worry about. So that's kind of the bulk of what I wanted to say today. Questions, comments, things you've run into. When you're looking for a shop, ask them if they have anybody that knows X, X, and X. If you have something weird, like I do, if you own something like this, heck, even this, clearly, call the shop ahead of time. Say, hey, are you guys proficient in these? Do you have an understanding of this? Do you know how these work? In this shop, we use factory supplied parts or OEM parts whenever possible. And then believe it or not, I'm doing this one, it's mine. If you don't believe me, this box isn't full of shell. This is actually what the service manual for this car asks for. I even went out of my way and ordered. Yeah, we do that for anybody if that's what they want. We just had news in the industry too that a very large supplier of parts that has been around for decades, they're closing 3 big brands. Cardone is one, that's gonna hurt. Autolite's another, that hurts hot rodders more than anybody. And a brake parts supplier, folded, going away. And that's these Chinese parts manufacturers are taking over because they can do it cheaper. There's got to be an understanding. Parts are hard. Since COVID, parts have been hard to come up with and get our hands on. It's definitely a changed landscape. So make the phone calls, ask the questions, be smart about where you take your car. The last thing that you should be haggling over is when you agree to have a repair done. Okay, our shop, we have a process. You come in, you get a diagnostic. In that diagnostic, we're going to inspect your entire video. So you're going to get a digital copy of our inspection, top to bottom, with descriptions of anything we find, videos and pictures to walk you through everything. On top of that, once you receive that digital inspection and you're going through it, our service writers will talk you through any and everything from top to bottom. They'll build you quotes on all of it. You can say yay or nay to everything. Piece it together however you want to do it. It is your car. Once you agree to it, we spell it out. We even show you labors, parts costs, the whole nine. We don't hide nothing. Once you agree to it, stop haggling over price. Prices are set for several reasons. Those aren't cheap. Nothing in there is cheap. That system right there is not cheap. I have to use that to talk to that because that doesn't speak English. So all these systems that we have to use do cost money. The tools cost money. The lights cost money. The building costs money. The real estate costs money. Everything costs money, and none of that's going down. So no, shops aren't out to get from you. They're expensive to run. I know our monthly overhead here is a couple $100,000. That's just to keep the doors open. So, and we are not the biggest, baddest shop in the country. We'd love to be, but there's 3 of us, man. And we got a couple service riders up front helping us with parts and running people around and QC and stuff. So shop for your shop, do your homework, and ask the questions. A shop that's good at Volvos, the Swedish, right? They're oddball cars. A shop that does Volvos, if you call them and say, hey, can you work on my Volvo? And they go, absolutely. You have the right, and you should be able to expect that they're going to knock it out and be right. Now, if you call Jim Bob's Chevy Truck Emporium and say, hey, I got a Mercedes, and the guy goes, yeah, we can probably figure that out. First red flag. Get down there. They get it for months, can't figure it out. You get it back in worse condition. At some point, some of this is the consumer's fault, because you've got to ask the questions. Not all shops are created equal. We do a really good job here of being very communicative with all our customers. In this industry, there's an understanding. You don't come see a guy like me when everything in your life is hunky-dory, okie-dokie, perfect. You come see me when something's gone wrong. So the people up front here are pretty good about knowing that you're not mad at them. And you have every right to be mad. Your car's broke. It sucks. We have a lot of contractors we do work for. They need their truck like yesterday. So we get it. We do local law enforcement stuff, fire department stuff. We do it all. Everybody needs their car now. We just do the best we can. And our goal is to have an empty lot by Friday. This time of year, it's not going to happen because people are dropping off on Friday. So I made this video because I really wanted to just vent. So if you've watched this far, I appreciate you. Drop a comment. Let me know. If there's something that you guys have run into with shops that you would like to see changed, speak up. Talk to the shops. I'm going to get on this, get this knocked out, because like I said, I've got to get it dropped off. So, but I wanted to get on here and say this stuff to you guys. It was bothering me yesterday. We got to stop letting stuff like this happen as an industry as a whole. We've got to do better. And part of that starts with, if you're a technician and you're watching me, having the balls to look up and say, I don't know how to do that. Say it with me. I don't know how to do that. It's not that hard, okay? I will respect you more as a person if you say, I don't understand the task, I don't know how to do that. I'll give you an avenue to learn it, because there always is one. Or here, we'll find someone that's better suited to do the job so we can get it done. We very rarely punt at this shop. It does happen. We seem to be the receivers of most punts. This particular shop, this is the second or third one in 2 weeks that we've gotten from them. So I hope they start doing better, because just for the industry's sake. It gives us all a bad name. So do your homework before you drop off your car to get any work done. And make sure the shop that you're talking to does the right thing. Till next time, guys, I promise the next video will be more fun. We are building that 302, but with the weather being what it's been, I'm in and out of that shop space, and obviously this week I'm here. So I've also got to get the Camaro in. We got some stuff to do on that. But in the meantime, I'm going to get on this. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you on the next one.